storage from different types of storage classes, storage lens, or even storage class analysis. Man, that's a lot of storage in that sentence. Well, look no further. Our next guest is a customer optimization enablement specialist at AWS. Please join me in welcoming Noah Israel to the show. So Noah is a customer optimization and enablement specialist at AWS. Noah spends her time helping customers reach financial success and accelerate their business values. Noah has a huge impact on AWS customers' experience, in particular, optimizing their cost account governance. The floor is yours, and you'll be doing your slides and presentation.
Yeah.
I'll be showing back up in about 15 minutes to ask you some questions from the audience.
Thank you. As John mentioned, I'm a cost optimization specialist. So today I'm going to walk you through the storage class option within Amazon S3 and how you can use data lifecycle management tools to optimize your Amazon S3 storage costs. So one thing I love about Amazon S3 services is that anyone can relate to it. Any one of us stores something in our iPhone, in our computer, whether it's photos, files, music, materials from our degree that we refuse emotionally to delete. And each of the files has different requirements and different access patterns. For example, the material from our degree, probably we won't access them anymore. Photos, for example, from our honeymoon, we probably gonna access it a lot in the first months when we show the picture to family and friends. But after a while, when we get back to our routine and work, so we're gonna access it less and less. So because we have a lot of different access patterns and it change over time, the first step to optimize your storage cost is really understand your workload requirements. So no one's gonna know better than you, your application, and you're the one that can best define this requirement. So as you can see in the slide, we have a lot of storage classes, and we have the warmer classes that access frequently and the colder classes that we access less frequently. So I'm going to walk you through all of them. So we have Amazon S3 standard that often is the best option for your active workload because there are no incremental retrieval charges. This is the best option if you access your data at least once a month. And for workloads that are less active, infrequent access can be a good fit for you. It's cost saving compared to your S3 standard class, but this cost saving comes with trade-off of in a form of gigabyte retrieval charges when data is excess. And like we mentioned in the photos, that after a few months or even a year, we won't gonna access it. So if we have data that we're not gonna access anymore, so we have our archive workload. We have three options to choose from archive storage classes, and S3 Glacier Instance Retrieval provide the same low latency as you can see in the slide as the more active classes, but it's cost saving when compared it to infrequent class. So it's a good fit for your data if you access your data once a quarter. Like you can compare it to a movie that you really like, but you're not gonna see this movie every day. If you're in the right mood that you want to see it, you're probably gonna see this movie once a quarter or so. So, and we have the S3 Glacier Deep Archive with the lowest cost for you in the cloud, and it can be retrieval within hours. So we talked about the classes, and I'm gonna deep dive on the intelligent tiering later. But let's talk about when we have our workload with known and consistent access pattern. So choosing the optimal S3 storage class for this can provide you really significant cost saving. But often, like the example of the honeymoon photos, the access pattern change over time. So it means that the most cost-effective storage class for you will likely change over time and become less active. And when you grow in S3 and you have a lot of data stored, it can be really difficult and challenging to manage all of these storage classes. So what is the solution AWS came with? We have, in order for us to simplify it, AWS offer you lifecycle policy that can be configured to automate transition between classes. We have an option to choose lifecycle data with predictable access pattern. Predictable access pattern can be, for example, current payroll information that you have in your company. So you know that in the current year, the data needs to be available for you. And after a certain specific time, after all of your reporting is done and you publish your reports, you're probably not going to access this data anymore. So this is a good fit for life cycle rules because you know the specific timeline for your data and you know that after this specific date, you're not going to access this data anymore. So you can use lifecycle policy to transition object to another storage class based on your object age. So you can decide, for example, to move object older than 90 days to Glacier Instance Retrieval, or decide to move object older than 1 year to Deep Archive. You can also decide that after a specific time, you can delete this object. And as you can see in the slide, it can only be from warmer class to colder class. For example, from standard to instance retrieval, but we can do it vice versa, meaning that if I want to do a rule from Glacier instance retrieval to move back to standard, it's not possible with lifecycle. So this is important to know. Stephanie mentioned storage lengths. So if we really want to understand the pattern and the access and to choose the optimal storage class for us, so S3 offers few features that can help us understand, analyze, and optimize. So I'm not gonna really talk a lot about storage lengths because Stephanie mentioned it, but storage lengths can deliver organization-wide visibility into object usage, and it can really show us, like Stephanie showed, the activity trends. It can help you discover anomalies in your account, find out how much storage you have across your entire organization, or, for example, which are the fast growing buckets in your account. Even give you recommendation for cost optimization and data protection best practices. So you can also identify buckets that are not following data protection, like, for example, they are not using S3 replication, or you can answer question like, which of my buckets have gone cold? And that way, you can make data-driven decision. And the customer may have 10 or 100 of accounts in AWS and have multiple S3 buckets around different regions. And S3 Lens provide a single view to our object storage. So it's a good tool to use. And like Stephanie mentioned, they're enabled, the dashboard default enabled in your accounts. So we talked about S3 storage lengths. Let's talk about S3 class analysis. S3 class analysis help us monitor access pattern for predictable workload. So for our predictable workload, S3 storage class analysis let you monitor in access pattern across object to help you decide when to transition data to the right storage class. So for example here, you can see that it can classify data as frequently or infrequently accessed. And that way in here, you can do also data-driven decision and use lifecycle like we saw before. So we covered the optimal storage classes for data with known and predictable access pattern, but you probably ask yourself, so like most of our customers in AWS, a lot of our customers don't know their access pattern. It keeps changing over time. So what can we do? We have Amazon S3 intelligent tiering that automatically optimize cost in 3 access tiers. As you can see in the slide, we have the frequent access tier. So when the object is new and active, it goes into the frequent access tier. And after 30 days, when the object is inactive, it automatically moves to infrequent access tier. And after additional 60 days, it will automatically move to the archive instance access tier. And there are no operational overhead, no lifecycle fees, and no retrieval fees. So this is important to note. And like we mentioned in the lifecycle, it's not possible to move from colder to warmer. And in the S3 intelligent tiering, you can tier down to colder tier, and you can tier up for warmer tier. So if your object become active again, it can come back to the frequent access tier and begin the process again. This is a good example. For example, like we mentioned in the photos, if you have photos in your phone, you're not necessarily gonna know the pattern of your access, and you probably want it to be available for you when you need it, but you're not gonna access it a lot. So the intelligent tiering gonna make the decision for you. If you're not gonna access your photo for certain time, it's gonna move it automatically for you. If you meet a friend and you want it immediately to show the photos, so automatically it will move it back to the frequent access tier. So in the very short session, and we can talk about all the subject for another hour or so, we covered the storage classes, we covered storage lens and analysis and the intelligent tiering and lifecycle. So thank you.
Now, I have some questions for you from the audience, and I captured it all. So let's talk about AWS S3 storage, the classes and the types. Can I move between these objects in different classes?
Yes, so you have 3 options to do it. The first option for you is do it manually, but it's gonna be, when you grow in S3, it's gonna be challenging to move it manually, and it's really operational work and time consuming. So the second option for you is the lifecycle rules. If you know your access pattern and you can predict it, so you can decide on rules after certain days to move it to other class. And the last option for you is what we mentioned in the last minute, is the intelligent tiering. So if you have unpredictable workload, so you can decide to move to intelligent tiering, and then automatically it will move between tiers.
So, no, another question to kind of talking is, how can you implement feedback from customers based off the tiering or class types?
Yes, so actually what I love about AWS is that we are saying that we're customer obsessed, but it's not just the same, we really act by this. So we work backwards from the client. So we really implementing feedback from the client. We really listen, and most of the biggest innovation in AWS and features came from the feedback from our customer. And one good example is when we get our customer feedback over the years on customer who are in need of more granular visibility into their storage. So we came up with the storage lens in 2020. And like I mentioned, customer may have tens or even hundreds of accounts in AWS with multiple S3 buckets across a lot of regions. So customer managing this sort of environment told us they find it difficult to understand how storage is used across the organization, and to optimize costs and to improve security. And storage lens really was a solution for this problem.
I think Storage Lens, so Steph talked in depth about Storage Lens, and we got a lot of feedback around it. The value that it provides for customers and the full visibility into the storage and different types. is another type of like customer obsession for AWS and their feedback and implementing some. So
For
Noah,
sure.
one of the other questions is one of our guests said, I've always set lifecycle policy at the bucket level. Are you able to do that at the folder level?
Actually, I'm not sure. I know that you can do it in a bucket level. I'm not sure. So I need to check it and
Sure.
return with this answer. Yeah.
All right. So whoever asked that question, Noah will take that. There's always great content that
Yeah.
comes out of this and some feedback. Noah will post that or try to post that on social media. If not, she'll provide the information to me and I'll share it out. Do you also have, or can you share a success story of a customer implementing this?
Yes. So actually, we have a lot of success story in AWS intelligent tiering in S3 regarding cost optimization. So we were working with a customer for the last 6 months in the healthcare industry, and he stored all of his data in a standard class. And we were estimated the option to move to intelligent tiering because all of his access patterns were very unknown. So immediately, intelligent tiering is a good option, like we mentioned before. And for his less reporting, when we talk with them, they are saving at this moment 14K every day. This is around 37% saving for them. So this is
Wow.
amazing. And we hear this from a lot of our customers.
Nice. That's always a good, and that amount of money per day is always savings.